Yeah. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Who's Slammin'. I'm your host, Jeff Ward. Today, I have Fred Young of the Kentucky Headhunters. We're at the beautiful Granada Theatre here in Mount Vernon, Illinois. Fred, I want to thank you for making time.
Hey, thanks for having me,
talking
man.
with us.
Hello,
it's a pleasure
out there.
and an honor.
It's good to be here.
Yeah.
Good to be anywhere.
Yeah, heard that. So, really, the format of the show is real basic. We're just going to talk a little bit about how you got started, influences as a kid, a little bit about the gear back here.
Okay.
And so, yeah, let's jump into it. What was that moment that you had, when did you get started playing, and what was that moment there where you either saw something or heard something that gave you that itch, like, hey, like, what is that? Like, these drums, I'm going to look into that.
It's kind of, the way I grew up playing, I have brother and cousins that played music, and they were guitar players, and there wasn't anything left to do but play the drums, So I went and got a $17 set of toy drums at a dime store. And we played, man. We went out and played till we started getting some real gigs, But I still got that drum set, and I'm playing it on the back of the first album we did, Picking on Nashville. I'm sitting there beating this little toy drum set. That's the first drums I ever had. Started playing the drums, no formal training, which I wish that I had but I just never could. I wanted to be Ringo or Charlie Watts, man. I didn't want to sit there doing that. But the guys I happened to listen to were John Bonham, Tommy Aldridge, which I've listened to everybody, man. I'm 65 now, so you know that I've been through Max Roach, Blue Cheers, and anybody. I've listened to everybody, and I never really saw a drummer I didn't like something that they did. I don't care if it's local drummer or whatever it was. I always find something good in somebody's playing because they're a human being and they're all different. God made us all different, and of course He's going to make us do something the other cat can't do, But I grew up. The guys I grew up listening to, of course, it was the Rascals. Remember them? Anything Steppenwolf, NRBQ. It's good to listen to them guys and everything, because I did the same thing. But find your own thing. When Greg came, I was 10 years old. When Greg, my cousin, came to stay all night when Richard and him met, Richard was in 8th grade and Greg's in high school, just got in high school. He came, we was going to put a band together. So he came to our house. Greg his brother Gary was a really good bluegrass player. And he knew a lot of good stuff that he turned Greg on to. So Greg learned from a lot of what to listen to from his brother, who's in Louisville, and he came to the house. He had Disraeli Gears with Cream and NRBQ's first album, and that's the first, not the first stuff, but other than Antigada Veda and the Turtles, the Power Generators, and just the stuff that was going on pop wise, but the underground stuff was, the stuff like we listened to, like Blue Cheer. There was a really good psychedelic band called Us Incorporated in our town where Richard took the guitar lessons from. the guitar player. I remember when I was 10 years old, when Are You Experienced come out, they had it over there. They just got it. And it was blaring, they had, Purple Haze and all that stuff. And I was sitting there looking at the album. I was thinking, man, here's these dudes, man, and they all got the puffed up same kind of hair, and that was a big statement with Are You Experienced, the album. And a great drummer, Mitch Mitchell, I love him. Never could play it stuff. I didn't have the background.
It takes a certain kind of animal to emulate some Mitch. Like, it's tough.
This thing coming from the Civil War and stuff like that, that's what knocks me out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's drumming, man. And you Mitch Mitchells and your Phil Seamans, Ginger Baker, all that type stuff. And see Bonham, man, you hear these kids doing these beats like boom, bah, boom, boom, bah. But they don't have that.
Nobody's ever gonna play it like John,
Oh, they don't have that
finesse.
finesse.
Sound similar, but like
they didn't grow up listening to enough Little Richard or something. One of my favorite drummers that I grew up, and I'll still today say he's my favorite, Steve Holmes, dear friend of mine. He had a band. He was a drummer for a band called Buster Brown back in the early 70s, and he had so much style and funk and finesse in his playing, and he taught me double bass, which I never could learn from Ginger Baker because his is so complex. He was into that boogie scene. And I learned all that from Steve. A lot of musicians around from where I grew up, man.
Wow.
But nobody really everybody's happy being home. And, they didn't want to take it to the money thing, where you make a living doing it. Great musicians around, some of the best, but like, they don't want to leave home. I don't blame them, it's all right. It's really, man, tough.
Yeah. Home's where the heart is,
It is for me, man. I grew up like that way, and it's great to get to play and everything like that, but where I have my most fun is up at that practice house.
Yeah.
That's where it's fun,
It's a creative room. It's
Yeah.
a creative process.
Yeah.
It's there's something in the air, right? Like it's something different other than playing like a big stage like here tonight. There's something about the creative process and that kind of vibe in the room. So
I remember playing a gig, and we were playing for the high school homecoming king and queen, and they wanted us to have a slow dance to play for the. Okay, we had our band was called Mandrake Velvet, and so what we do? We did the pusher by Steppenwolf, and they unplugged us. Well, see, there was two bands in high school. There was this a top 40 band called Cool Blue, and then there was us. And somehow or another, we flipped the coin and we got to play it. So we got unplugged. I'll never forget it, man. It's great. But stuff like that's what makes the world go round.
who, if you could nail down a name, just one name from back then, and be like, that was my guy or gal or whatever, and then as opposed to like kind of who do you listen to that kind of you see play now in this day and age where you're like, man, they got it.
Well, this kid, my nephew, is a good drummer. Because I'm real close to seeing him. Because I know what he can do besides what, he can play. And he can do the things that I can't push through. I always was so little, man. I didn't weigh but 100 pounds. I didn't have the strength and energy to push that stuff through rock and roll. He can. But I'd like to see him play more. More Mitchell type. Because he can do that, but man, you can't go out there playing what he does and play that way. You know, they think you got four heads or something. You know,
Right.
But there's a lot of good players out there. I don't keep up with much because there's been so many good ones that I'm trying to learn about. I listen to a lot of, more than drummers, a lot of singers that influence me in drumming, and
Right.
probably more. You know, I've been into every. I go into every thing. I went to a reggae thing one time.
Yeah.
And learned everything I could about that. I went into soul thing, and blues, Sonny Boy Williams and blues, and all that stuff. And when I started really learning to get somewhere was when I started playing more simple. Because at the end of the day, of all the, I remember when I was a kid, we was down there in Atlanta recording. I was 18. I was doing all these licks, all these double bass stuff. You know, and that was just killing it live. When I come out there, I was doing this. You know, that's the first shot I had at my ego. Learned me that, okay, big boy, this is what it's about.
Keep it simple, stupid, right? Like,
if you want, unless you want to make a butt out of yourself. But like, you know, like, okay, now, Little Richard, Elvis, early, Big Hunk of Love. To you, that's what real rock and roll was. Little Richard took his drum to the train station, made him sit there and listen to trains come in and out all day. To learn. And, you know, right. And I'll tell you somebody where more so brought my attention to that was NRBQ, the drummer for NRBQ, Tommy Ordinello or somebody, I can't think. Great drummer, great guy, passed on, but that band was so. Frankie used to sing for our band for a long time. Well, for a while. That band started in Kentucky. Two boys, Steve Ferguson and Terry Adams, put that band together. And great band. One of my favorite bands. And they're still out there, but it's not like it used to be. And, you know, they play gigs like Paul Butterfield and all that stuff. And what's that? Fillmore's and stuff like that.
Right. But before we split, let's talk a little bit about the kit, because as a drummer, you see so many kits, you know, and being a fan of drums, but very few kind of stick out, and they're like, wow, like what is going on
if you look
here?
So
let's talk a little bit about the drums, just a little bit.
Let me back up here.
And
can you see them now?
Yeah, well, I'll get pans of them later.
All right, well, here's the deal.
So don't worry about that. Let's just talk about it.
When I played sonar drums, great drums, man, everything, rock and roll drums and stuff. But when we started the Headhunters, we was playing like Delta blues pretty much. And I was looking for a bass drum that would fit the sound and look like they did on the Helmet Blues, Sonny Boy Williams radio show stuff. I think that's right. So I went to the high school. When I went to school, we got this bass drum. It's a 1960 Ludwig.
Okay.
And it was stuck back in the room, in the storage room. And they was nice enough to let me take this drum. So I put my drum set around this. This I got at Joe Lay Antiques in Bull. I think I gave $25 for it. But it's a 15 to 16 marching drum, which all these drums are marching drums. Took the mechanism, the stuff, you know, the hardware off, gives the snare stuff, and used it the whole time. It sits in a cradle.
You don't see those kind of, you know, stands anymore.
No,
really, for drums.
Not unless
so
they start
super
to make
cool.
them. But again, They kind of choke. Actually, they kind of choke the drums, huh?
Yeah.
But this is another. This is a single tension. This is double tension. This is single tension. A real thin shell. So this is a Lady Reliance bass drum. My brother-in-law got that for me up in D.C. at an antique shop. The snare drum here I'm using here live is a snare drum, Superphonic 400, 6.5. It belonged to Darryl Sweet, the drummer from Nashville. I wound up with his drums when he passed away, and I keep the other drums home. I brought this out. I want to play it some, so was it Zildjian cymbals?
Zildjian's up top, all the way around. You always been a Zildjian guy.
Yeah, I can't hardly hear it pace. I wanted to play them ones like Vernon played, but man, I just couldn't hardly hear him. Man, there's something I don't know. It's just got to. I guess if I get used to them, but there's a big difference in these cymbals, man. But yeah, that ain't not. That's broken.
So mostly A's all the way around.
Yeah.
The way that looks, ABMs.
I remember one time I got a set of K's, and I left my A's at home and brought them out on the road. And I got them set up, got ready, and I couldn't hear them. They real dark. So I had to send them back and get some more. But the ones that really work for me is these real old ones. I like these real old with the big names on the road on them and stuff. Speed King pedals, that's all I've ever used since 1972.
Okay.
And the hi-hat here, I took the bracing off. I just drilled the things out, and I used that. It's a real small hi-hat stand. Nothing real heavy duty.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So cool.
And the hardware is a lot of old stuff, different stuff.
It's kind of hodgepodge stuff.
Yeah, it comes and goes, changes, every so often. I'm needing to get me some new cymbals. I got some holes drilled in some of them.
Making them work.
Making them work, man.
Making them work.
It's they're good cymbals on that. The drums and every drum heads, man. I don't hardly ever change my heads because I just like if I do change them, it's like I get if I do change them, it's like trying to learn to play a different set of drums, new set of drums. These heads, no matter what, or the drums, you got to pull it out of the drum. It don't matter what it sounds like. If it can be set up, if you know what you want to hear out of the drum, you got to pull it out of there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You got to, or pretend you're hearing what you want to hear, but you got to, it can, you got to try to make it sound good where it sounds bad. Not do what you can do,
I listened to you tinker around on it a little bit earlier, and I think they look so unique and they sound so good.
Well, they like I say, they've been out on the road since '86. I mean, '89 we started touring. I put them together in '86, but we started the big. So they think how many nights they've been beat on.
Yeah, they got stories to tell themselves.
Oh yeah, they're bigger than me,
cool.
man.
That's so cool.
You have to sit behind them, man. Beat some.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe we'll see. We'll turn the camera off when we do that.
Oh, wow.
But listen, Fred, can't thank you enough, brother.
Thanks
so much for doing this.
Man.
It's so cool of you. And catch the Kentucky Headhunters. They're out on tour right now. I'll leave a link in the comments. I have no idea what that is. I'll leave a link in the comments section. Thanks.